Hey everyone, good afternoon. I feel like a few of you guys joined Discord stream, but I'm streaming on Twitch just because I think it's easier. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I don't have my headset attached to my head. Make sure everyone's tuned in and then we can start. Can you guys hear okay? So I can't put my headset on, but I didn't think about that. But I think my voice is loud enough, so you should probably be able to hear me just fine. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, I think. Like, we did talk about this in the report, so I had some conditions set for overnight, and they were, I would say, very straightforward. So we already know that the 70-28 to 32 area is extremely calculated. There is some overhead around this 70, I don't know why this got deleted, but like close to 70-17, 70-19, which got cleared the day before. They were able to take this to 70-22-25 here and then stalled. I don't think 70-22 and 25 was enough though to keep momentum going, if that makes sense. And our really calculated area is what, you guys? What area here do we have that's super, super calculated? Please try to get this right. So 70-28 and 70-32. What area above here had a lot of confluence? And I'm 90% sure that this is why they didn't get there. Or one of the reasons why. What area is extremely calculated? And you should be able to know what it is just off heart. But if you don't, then go back and read the report. And go back and double check what these areas are. Because which areas do we have that are super, super calculated for this week? And in general, too, not just for this week, but nope. What was the yearly target if they ended up clearing and breaking? Especially if they hold 6998, 6999. It's in their report. And they did hold that area, but they couldn't quite clear it. Nope. Nine is calculated, but that's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking like the area above here. Above 28 and 32. What was our yearly target to end the year? Close. That's the closest answer so far. Not the exact answer, but what was the final target areas for 2025 that could be carried over into the new year? This area was also extremely calculated off 6906. Thank you so much for the sub. You guys, it's in this week's report. It's in the year-end report too. It's in both reports. Probably in the report from 3-4 weeks ago too. From like the final trading week of 2025 or something. I'm 99% sure I put this in there. Nope. I also mentioned it this morning. Hint, hint. It's also the area that's aligned with 7866, 7861, or 71. Nope. You guys really didn't read the report, hey, or the stream. How unfortunate. What's our big spot, you guys? How has no one gotten that right? That's... What area has a ton of confluence for end of year? Come on, you guys. 7041, 7038. The 7K area, yes, that's the first mark. Gosh, but I'm talking, we already achieved that. So, like, what's the areas above there once we hit 7028 and 32? Okay, like, please write that down, because there's no way everyone in here got that wrong. It's not good. Okay, so, and go back and I'll tag you guys in this for the summary of the stream. There's a report on this, but go back and read this. I'll tag you guys in Discord. So 7041, 7042, right? Was that not the target that I said if they break 7032 end of year that we could try clearing and getting there? I don't know if you guys just forgot or whatever the case is, but I feel like this is partially why they... And in case you forgot, that's the 173 point range, okay? Or whatever that range differential was between there. It's on the report. There's also a ton of drawings in case you need to go back and see what it is. Kind of like where this line area is here, okay? So this little tiny reduction here, it's not much, but I figured, okay, that could be the first reason why they never achieved 7038 today. Okay, is everyone on the same page? So that's the first tiny reduction. It's not much, but I figured maybe that's why they never got to here today. Do you guys see that? Like closer to this range in here. So this was the first area that I noticed reduced us a tiny bit off hitting 7025 versus 7028, which implied not triggering 7038. Okay, second ranges in here were obviously closer to this 3-2 area. I think that's like close to 7 points or so. And that would be closer to like that 4-3, right? And the 3-1. This was the second range. And the reason I would use these areas too, like I know that there are calculated spots, but they're also the spots that they triggered here. Do you see this? Like off of 3-6. And then I noticed that when they did break, they hit 7030 right here. Do you see this? Like off that CPI stick, 7030.5, 7031. Okay, so this could be why they were constrained a little bit to 362 off of here. Do you see that? Like the same sort of range in here, based off stalling there. Okay, so that was one reason why I figured they're probably keeping this a little bit stuck in these areas here, whereas like maybe between like this range in here to, let me reset this, to this range in here. Okay, I'm just going off that 830 stick. Okay. We didn't really have high odds of clearing 3-8. Do you see what I'm saying? Can you see that? Like it's a similar type of reduction off open, close, highs, lows off that 830 candle. Whereas if you measured off the actual highs that occurred in here, they should be aligned with that 7041 spot, okay? Like off highest open close, highest lows, and right around that 4-4. Okay, does everyone understand this concept and the reason why they stalled here? And why we had a lot of odds near 7038, 41, 44, 42, this range being kind of like the max range for ES had they not reduced. Okay? I think it's really important that you guys understand reduction sometimes, because I feel like sometimes I feel like you guys do and sometimes I feel like you guys don't. And I feel like the reason why you guys don't is because you don't know where you're measuring off of, right? So overnight conditions last night. The most important area for them to have held was where? And this was in the report, but this is also a calculated spot. So whoever said 9-9, this isn't wrong, okay? Because this isn't wrong as it's part of the condition, okay? To achieve that range. Does that make sense? So you would have to sustain close to this 6999, okay, 7001 area in order to clear that and break it, okay? So they didn't quite do that before they broke back here, like when I was looking at this, like back in here, okay? And this was kind of like yesterday's real-time price action, and that could have been the reason why, and also because of where they opened. So I noticed yesterday's open was 69.5, and you see how like they kind of stalled the zone by 3 points there? Do you guys see this? Like here off 8.5. This could have been where the reduction started in the first place. Do you see that? Like that 2.75 that we talked about? Especially off like that 2.8 mark. Like look. Do you guys see that? I feel like this is where these reductions started. And it was like right off opening range. In between here. And I kind of noticed that pattern as like this kind of continued yesterday, so I knew that maybe we wouldn't clear all the way up, but we had some odds of getting those 70-20s. So overnight condition, it was very vital that they held 6999, okay? Everyone's in agreement with that? Like this was very, very, very important for them to hold, to even have an odd of clearing this area this time. Is everyone on the same page? Like you weren't gonna even get this range if you didn't sustain here, okay? That was one of the conditions for overnight. And you can go back and read this. What was something though that didn't happen ahead of 8:30? And I think this is also another reason why there's still some volatility here. So we're aware why they didn't capture full range in here. But what's another reason why? And I'm going to delete the flips that I had. I had early morning flips this morning because they had to break that 70, 28, and 32 within the first 15. Otherwise, we were at risk of heading back to the zone and retesting these core areas like we're doing now. And we took a straddle position this afternoon just in case because we had odds of either end breaking. If they break down to the downside, we'd be looking for same sort of ranges that we talked about. So let me copy paste that. So if they don't sustain, we're at risk of core areas 6971, 6978. 6971, 78 is more ideal than heading back to 58 and 66. So we'll see if they're able to hold this into the close here and try to retract this back. So there was a bit of a short setup after stalling 7017, okay, 7016 back in here, but also after not clearing and breaking off the open. So what was one of the conditions that failed to be met overnight? And this is really important. And guys, I'm covering this and I have my short on still, so if I'm gonna be distracted for a little bit while I'm still in my trade, then please try answering some of the questions. What's a condition that was failed to have been met last night? They held 9-9, but they didn't do what? What did they not do ahead of CPI prints? And this is very important. What did they not do here? Yeah, they failed to get over this 2832 ahead of prints. Okay, so that put us at some risk. They did manage to break it though at the time of print, so that could help offset some of the risk. What did they fail to do at open? What do they fail to do right at 9:30? And this was pretty important because we said if they don't open above these ranges here, then there could be some major volatility, especially if they don't clear within the first 15 minutes. What do they fail to do here off open? And you could see the reduction right into the open here. Like, look at where they stalled. Where did they stall right off the open, you guys? Where did they stall here? Right before open. This was, in my opinion, this was a super obvious trade, especially when they started stalling. They failed to clear 70.28 before open. Okay, so this was one of the first conditions that I mentioned in pre-market that they stalled. Okay, so no clearance of 70.28 before open. Okay, they were struggling there a little bit. Then they had a reduction in range. Okay, that was one of the first signals. Okay, they reduced this by like 11 points. Okay, so this could have at least gotten us a 70.39 test. Do you guys see the reduction here? I need you guys to see how like these areas align. Do you see this? So had they done something like that and cleared and broke, they would have tried testing 70.38.39. Do you see the differential here? It's important that you guys understand reductions and why these things start to happen. So I knew immediately that they could easily come back and retrace that 70.12, 70.17 area if they don't break 70.28. So I gave it the first few minutes because 70.18.50, it's not a terrible open, but it's not the best open. Like, it was enough to try coming back and retesting, but you can see here, look at that reduction stick at 4.3. And they took it right back to that 70.12 and then these neutral ranges right at 9.45. So like even this extra reduction in range here, like that's a total of 12 points. Okay, and like 12 points would have been at least enough to get it back to retest these prior highs. Do you see this? Like it might have not been enough to get a full range, but it could have sustained some of this volatility here had they broken it back up within those first 15 minutes. And maybe that reduced our overall range on this session by like 22, 12 points. That's how maybe we could have gotten 70.51, right? Or like potentially like off that 45-minute period. Like it's not that much range, but this is what could have stalled us in the channel maybe, or like 70.42, 43. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is how these ranges would have been applicable and how we could have maybe tried tagging 3.8, 4.1, 4.3, maybe 50. Okay, had they come back and retracted this within the first, even if they didn't open above, okay, but then had retracted here, okay, then we would have had, but then that would have still made price action maybe a little bit sticky. We probably would have had similar PA like we had all afternoon. You know how it was stuck between 8.8 and 7K all afternoon? It could have been the same thing, but maybe between like this neutral area and the channel. Does that make sense to you guys? Like kind of like how they had like this sideways price action. It would have likely been very similar. And I would bet anything that this is close to like 34 points in range from open. Yeah, it is. Do you see that? Are you guys okay if I clear this chart for a sec just so you can see? So here's the 9:30 open. We've been working really closely with like 34 point ratios this week. Where's the 9:30 open? Okay. Do you see that? So if they were to clear off open, it probably would have been the same scenario, but just on the upside. And that's how you maybe could have gotten like that 5.2 area. So who said 5.2? 5.2 is not wrong. It's just you have to understand like the concept of the trade to see why you could have maybe had this. So this would have been the case had you actually held off open and retraced 70.28, 70.32. Does that make sense? Like you would have recycled that upside, that range to the upside. You would have held 70.12, 70.17. You would have held those neutral ranges. You would have had higher odds of that happening. Whereas had you maybe opened closer to like 2.8, okay, like closer to this range in here, right? That's how you might have had odds of like 5-5-8, 6-1, 6-2. Do you see what I'm saying? Whereas like a 3-1, 3-2 open, I would bet anything you would have had odds of like 6-6. Let me know if this makes sense, guys, okay? Because understanding your opening range is supposed to help you understand like the kind of range you can get on either end. And that's why opening closer to like, had they open around 70-38, 70-41, 42, those areas are extremely calculated and really bullish. Do you see how these ranges could have netted us core areas? 70-72, 70-71. Do you see what I'm saying? 70-75. Does that make sense? And the 5-2 area should be aligned with hitting very close to entering a new zone. Okay? Do you see that? So these could have been in play had you actually hit like off the highest range if you open there. And I did talk about how those areas, like the channel is aligned with those core areas. I talked about it, I think like 2 weeks ago. Okay, you might have to go back and read that. Does this mean core range is out of play for the rest of the week? Well, I didn't think that we had super high odds of core ranges this week anyway because of them opening in those neutral spots. But this is how they could have offset it had they met these conditions ahead of time. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it's not that you don't have any odds. You could, but then you have more pressure to close above, right? Clear above. Then so that means you have to really recycle and really sustain now. We can't afford losing 6-9, 7-1, 7-8. Does that make sense? So if you want that to be the case, you can't lose 7-1 to 7-8. Like, you have to now hold, okay? And then you have to then retrace. So like 70-20s have to get retraced before you even have any probability. Because I feel like at this point, we haven't even hit our base target. What's our base target right now? Above 70-32. And that's what we just covered for like this last hour. What's our main target here? So far right now, they've also hit 55 points in range from these real-time highs, which is also like a core range. And from overall range, I think they're just about stalling like 59, 58 points. So they're still core type ratios, okay? Because 56, 59 points, those are core ratios. Whereas if they fully were to break this down, we still would have some room, but we want to try our best to hold like the 6-8, 7-1. No, you guys, come on, 70-38, 70-41. That target, that's our target. Okay, write that down. I don't know why you guys keep forgetting that. No, if we come back the second time, we have to take out those areas. Just like how we came back this time and we had to take out 70-28 and 32. Okay, you can't stall 3-6. You have to take out 3-8, 4-1. Okay, so like this is like a very neutralized spot. That's why I figured even if they break this down, they're probably going to do it super late in the day. That's why I was saying maybe you could do like a short, but I would still be cautious because if they really want to keep this in play, then they'll probably end up holding like the 7-8, okay, 7-8, 7-6 to 7-1 areas. So conditions into the close. What do you guys think this would be? So 345 right now, especially after stalling like 70-17 right here. And these were very, very obvious like reductions this morning too. Like I feel like they were super clear, especially when they did this here. And even if you measure off like the real-time open this morning, so like off the 70-18, like you can see that this was right around that 6.75, which was that previous high. Do you see that? Isn't that wild? Look, that's the exact previous high range from where they opened. It was also 6.75. So those reductions still kept coming into play. I know this morning I said 7 points, but it was closer to like 6.75 when I was calculating them for you guys. AKA right here, in case you guys forgot. I don't forget anything. Whereas I think max reductions are probably closer to like those 10 point to 11, 12, 13 point ratios. 13 points probably makes the most sense based off where they stalled at 830, like that 12.75. Or if you measure it to like the 3132. And then max reduction off there is probably that 17, 18 point ratio. So you can see it even off opening range. These should all be aligned right close to like this 5.1, 5.2. Do you see it? Like as a max ratio, because those were the reductions that were present. I would say like probably closer to like the 3.1, 3.2 area, like 13 points. And they should be close to the channel. And then off 2.8 is closer to like 9.75 points, which would have gotten you 3.8, 4.1, okay, maybe a max of like 4.6. Does that make sense? So opening near 2.8 probably would have maybe still stalled the channel, whereas opening around 3.2 you had an odd of the 50s. Opening above 3.2 you would have had some odds of getting like 5.2, 5.3, so on and so forth. So I think everyone's on the same page for reductions, and that's why I was saying all morning, like, I think they make this short really tough. Like, I don't think this is going to be a very easy short. I think this is what's going to result in sticky PA. I mentioned it like early this morning, okay? But even though the daily looked like a massive bearish engulfing, okay, it's a lot tougher than it looks, because, and the reason for that is because when you have both ends trying to fight for this, what did I say earlier? What are they trying to fight for? And remember this analogy that I used this morning, okay? This is, and I'll tell you why, okay? So because currently ES is on the 4-day, it's kind of battling. So this is what I was trying to explain earlier. Okay, the daily looks like a massive bearish engulfing. This could easily come back down. This could easily reverse back to here. Do you guys see that? Like, it's a pretty big short, correct? To 69.50, 48. Is everyone on the same page? Okay, so it looks very bearish, but same with the 2-day. A lot of these flip tomorrow, but on the 4-day, there's pressure, okay? And usually when there's pressure, that they don't give things up that easily. Does that make sense? Like, if there's a lot of pressure like this, like, market's not going to just give it up that quickly. It'll at least try to get some structures to sustain above these ranges here. Does that make sense? Let me just turn off some of these because this is kind of messy, but do you see that? Like, it's not going to just fully give this up. It's going to want to try making this pinnable. So it kind of would make it a battle between like 6.966 and this 6.995 area or so. Does that make sense? Because it can't go too much lower, and that's the reason why I figured like they're gonna probably try getting a pinnable close, because technically speaking, they can afford to go down all the way to 6.771, but if they don't, they could easily recycle that range on the upside. Does that make sense to you guys? Like that 10 points, that 5.75 points, it's the same thing. You could use the exact same reductions that we had earlier to ideally try getting this back on upside. So that means we could get a close closer to ideally where. This is where your second calculated spots come in, guys. Please don't get this wrong. Try your best to get this right. And this is what would make it a very pinnable afternoon. And that's why I said I think straddles would work best today, because you'd have odds of both ends. So let's see. If this is where we had max risk 2, okay. And it makes sense too, because off highs, that's also a 66 point range down here. And 68 point range. So, okay, this is also 66 points from highs. Okay. What kind of range could this set us up for? into the close. Maybe. If they didn't take it all the way down. They held 7-8. 7-8 is a more ideal area to hold. And usually when they move price, it'll happen within like the last 5 minutes. We have to watch the 5-4 sticks. Okay. So 350 pushed it back to 9-3. And this is pretty obvious because if you're looking at that 4-day structure, let me just delete this. If you're looking at that 4-day structure, at a minimum, you want this back over 7-7, correct? And 7-9. Is everyone on the same page? Ideally, though, you probably want this to close at least above 9-4. Does that make sense? What area do you think you'd have to really clear and break? And 9-4 was also a calculated range that we talked about previously when they stalled. You might have to go back and read the prior reports, but do you see what I'm saying? So 354, you definitely want this to try coming back and clearing this 9-4, 9-6 area in order to give you odds of what? What's going to reset our conditions to try again tomorrow? And someone mentioned it earlier, but this, okay? Yes, get back to that 7K mark. It's resetting our weekly conditions again from scratch, okay? And those structures make sense because you don't want a really nasty like star-like reversal here, right? So two ways you can think of this is getting back above these structures, getting back above those calculated ranges, but also getting back above 50% of this range, right? Ideally 66%. I find if you break usually 66 or 75% ratios, you usually have better odds. So 66%, I would bet money is aligned with that 7K. Do you see it? So that's what I'm looking at into the close. Ideally, to help negate some of these star-like reversals. This is also a really good V reversal into the close here. And your point in time to break or retest 6999. Remember how I said earlier I did a short, okay, off of here and a long off of here? Because you should be able to get range on both ends. So what you could also do is measure, okay, you had 8 points from our 8-5 break. So that means you could get how many points on the upside break above 9-9? Max, maybe. Or even like off this 9-4. What do you guys think? Because this is the median point. This is where price is kind of in between. Do you see it? What 7007? Don't get this wrong. What's this area here? And this makes total sense. If they wanted to try neutralizing the week, they would take it back here before midweek. What's that 707 area and 703? You guys should be capturing this long too, I hope. Because 7-8 is a huge area. And that was my short target if they did take this down. 6999 being retested here right at 355. Nice, Vincy. Do you guys understand what this concept of this trade is though? What's 703? What's 7003 and 700607? Why is that area so important? It makes sense that it's the exact range from where we took the risk from here. Because this is where it's kind of conflicted. Okay, or like in between. This is like the whole point of that straddle. Okay, this is where range could break once you break 9-9. Yes, it's the weekly open, weekly close. Okay, so we could have an odd of resetting the week for midweek, correct? And it's the same sort of idea. Remember how I said earlier, if they cleared 6999 ahead of 230, we could have some odds of 70-20s, but then they stalled. Okay, and I tried a short off there and then a long off like the 8-6, 8-7. It's because this area can give you both directions. Remember how I said this area should be able to give you range breaks on either end and they should be pretty equal? Does that make sense? Like you should be able to get range on both sides. Okay, so if we look at this off maybe close to here, because this is like the median point in between here, like close to like 889192. Does that make sense? Or if you want to just measure off like the zone, if it's easier for you guys, you could do that too. And that's probably going to be like that 11, 12 points. Okay, if you want to measure off the zone, if it's easier, then you could just do that too. And it should show you exactly why they're stalling this area here. Do you see? It should align with 6999, basically. It's the same thing. It's like 12 points above or below the zone. This is just a little bit more accurate if you do it the first way I showed you guys. So, where could this be very pinnable into the close, you guys? Especially if they take out these ranges, which I think they will. Especially if this clears before, if this 6999 clears before 59. I wouldn't be surprised to see an end of day stick back to like 03 or 06. What do you guys think? Whereas like a median range risk is probably that 17 points, which is the full range that we talked about off weekly reductions off open. And that would be if they fully want to reset things. I don't see them doing this into close today, but like obviously we could watch for this for after hours. Like this would be more of like taking it back to the real time open, like 70 7012, 7017, 7018. I don't see this happening here because they didn't clear 99 early enough, but I feel like off the zone area, like this is pretty possible to get these ranges in here. And that's kind of where they're stalling right now. Okay. I hope this helped you guys into the close, just at least to understand why I figured that like 7871 could be a max, but then also why they could stall there and bring it back. I don't think they're going to bearish engulf this session today. There's too much risk, and it's a neutral week, and they started neutral, so they'll probably want to end neutral. And the condition that helped us the most today is they did still test and take out 70, 28, and 32. This is helping us a little bit, okay? Everyone's on the same page? So for me, I think this is the most pinnable area into the close, okay? And they could obviously now move this after hours, and our weekly conditions become reset once again. So weekly conditions resetting is the exact same thing. So literally sustain the zone, hold these core ratios. If we hold core ratios, we want to try clearing 6999, 6998, get back to 7032. It's all the same things, just literally reset again and over and over and over again. And it's going to be the same thing on breaking here, because we had the confluence in that range in there. There it is. Did they trigger 0325? Wow, they did. You guys, that is insane. That is genius. Do you see that? It literally hit the exact arrow. That's crazy. And this is why, Vinci, I said a straddle is best. You'll capture the 7-8 short, and you'll capture the break back to 7K. Like, that is such a nice trade. That was perfect. And especially if you took the position, like, in between. So, like, either, like, I tried doing it as close to, like, 8.6 as possible. But even if you did it, like, right off 8.8, like, you'll capture both ends of the trade. Do you see that? And look, now for after hours, they could easily take this back to 7006, 7007, 7007, so on and so forth. And it just kind of resets the week. So back to like 7004, 7007. 7003 was more calculated though, like the 700325. Again, okay, please study this, because that was the actual range that they reduced this by. Can you guys see the center screen? So kind of like this. This seemed more calculated. So this was that This was that 10-point reduction that we just talked about, or 8.25. So again, whether you're looking at it as like the full range break from here, or the range that was still applicable down to here to 6.8, or if you're looking at it as the range to the zone. Okay. And the range breaks above here, above 9.4, should get you back to like this 0.2, 0.3. And the range breaks above the zone should get you back to 7.005, right? Or this area back in here, like the 10-point range that we talked about, is what would have netted you this 70.03. I didn't add, I already had the positions open, so I did tomorrow's expiration though, so that it makes it a bit easier so that they don't decay, because I figured if I did today's expirations, they'd probably get killed. But this was obviously a way better area to try a long off 7.8. So no, I didn't get the 7.8 long exactly. Mine was off that 8.6 that I did earlier, but I covered the 7.8 short for like the auto sells. I have to make some sacrifices sometimes, guys, if I'm going to stream and help you guys too. It's very hard to stream and give you guys the exact ranges and then also be able to like fully take advantage too. But I didn't care too much because I already had that position I talked to you guys about earlier. But yes, 6, 9, 7, 8 long from here would have been the best entry point. Yeah, I know. Isn't that insane? And especially on like that 350 break, because 350 took out that 9.3 and 8.8 wall. So these are the ranges we could look for after the bell. Any questions, guys, before I sign off? Are you guys good to go on your end? And I wasn't initially going to stream the close just because I knew that I might miss out on like a nice long off 7.8 or something like that, but these are really big trades, and not in terms of range, but in terms of like understanding why it's trading that way. Does that make sense? It's more about like understanding the dynamic of the trade that I care about more than the actual trade itself, and understanding why that's happening. Like if you don't understand why it's happening, then you shouldn't be trading. That's yeah, I know I didn't capture the 7.8 long. I already had that long off 8.6 that I mentioned earlier, but which wasn't a bad trade. It's still okay. I'm gonna hold maybe like 3 contracts into tomorrow off that, just in case they do get us back to 70.32 tomorrow, or the channel, and then at least that way I can capture some of that. But if I had an entry off 7.8, I definitely would have maybe done like, I don't know, Friday's expiration, because then that way it gives you the whole week. But nonetheless, this is still a really great trade back on the upside. And this was the 17-point break here, guys. A few final things I'll point out before I go. This was a 17-point break here off lows, and then when they cleared here, this was them clearing 22 points off 9.998, and then this right now is them basically stalling like right in between. So if they are able to get it back to these areas here, then it'd be the same thing as getting like a 32, 33-point break. Market was moving like 34, 35-point intervals, which gives alignment close to here. I don't know if they'll get all the way back here, but if they did, like based on like where they stalled here off the open, this was 44 points. Do you see that? That's what would get you back to like 70, 20, 21. I don't know if they're going to get that much range though. Whereas like off of these ranges in here, you see how they're kind of closer to 31, 32 points. that would be a bit closer to like this target that I had around 70.08. Do you see that? That's the same type of range. Anyway, you guys can go back and review this if you want. I did it on Twitch, so it's recorded. And no problem, Big Daddy. Okay, I will catch you guys tomorrow.